I grew up with my mom. My dad and my mom, things didn't work out. As an adult, I look at my father and I say, bro, I don't know what happened, but you my father and I love you.
Wow.
I don't know what happened. I wasn't there.
Wow.
But I'm gonna tell you this, growing up, the one thing I knew I wanted to do, and this is not about my father, this is about what I wanted to do, is I wanted to be a father to myself.
Wow.
And so one of the things that's actually happening in our culture, which you're now starting to see in our politics, is the reinvigoration of black families with younger black men and black women. And that is also helping to breed the revival of a black middle class in America. You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together.
That's right.
During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people always have been conservative-minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then HEW, Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened in America the last 10 years, and I say it because it's my contemporaries, it's Wesley's contemporaries, you're starting to see more black people be married in homes, raising kids. It's when you home with your wife raising your kids, and then you look at the world, you're saying, now wait a minute, time out. This does not look right. How can I get something to my kids? It goes back to the conversation of generational wealth. Not just having a job, generational wealth.
Now, we should note that many Democrats who jumped on Donald's today claimed that he said that blacks were, quote, better off. As you heard there, he didn't use those exact words in the clip, but the congressman joins me now to talk about that. Congressman, thank you for being here. I want to just focus on really the substance of what you were saying or trying to say in that clip. What did you mean by black families were more together during Jim Crow?
Frankly, what that is about the empirical fact that before the Great Society, before Lyndon Johnson's policies, there was more black families united. The marriage rate in black America was significantly higher before the Great Society. The period of time that coincides with that, obviously, is Jim Crow era. And then after the Great Society, the marriage rate in the black community plummeted significantly. The Great Society is a part of that reason, not completely, but it's definitely a part of that. And what you're seeing right now in America is a reformation of black families in America. That's a good thing, not only for the black community and for black families, but it's also a good thing for the country.
So what?
Now, what she's trying to do, she wants to put his back against the wall for acting as if the Jim Crow era was good, and that's not what he was saying. But this is something that she's going to try to stay on, and I want y'all to see how many times she interrupts him. She asks him a question, he answers it, and she interjects when he's not answering it the way that she wants him to answer it. But he's putting it all out there on the line.
What was the point of tying together the black family and Jim Crow specifically? I mean, Jim Crow, as you know, was a period of racial segregation, of racial terror. Why would you make that connection?
All I was doing was referring to the time periods when you talk about the historical timelines in America and coinciding with black families and what the marriage rate in black families are. The overarching point is obviously talking about what polling shows today, that about 20-25% of the black vote, depending on what poll you're looking at, is leaning towards supporting Republicans and supporting President Trump. The corollary to that is that when you're in a family unit, husband and wife, living together, working together, thriving together, you're raising your kids, your thought process is now talking about building generational wealth. What am I leaving to my children? What kind of communities do I want my children to come up in? What are the educational opportunities? What's going on with the economy? How does, and then to a broader level, how does foreign policy and all these other public policy issues flow into that? And so when you compare the terrible agenda of Joe Biden and what that's done to families in America, coinciding with the fact that you are seeing a reformation of Black families in America today, which is an absolutely wonderful thing and needs to continue. My view is it also coincides with a more conservative leaning and a more conservative mindset politically in those families.
One thing I really want to just get you to address.
She don't care about anything he just now said. Everything he said was why he hold a certain level of importance when it comes to families. Why is it important that people have families in the home? She don't want to hear about that. Everything he just now said, she's not going to acknowledge as good. What she want to hear is, why are you looking at the Jim Crow era as a sexy time for Black people? Because that's what we want to hear. That's what we want to hear. We want to hear that. We have been teaching people how to grow online. It's been absolutely amazing. We have 3 people who have been able to reach monetization in less than 30 days. Growing YouTube channels, some from 0 people. We have one guy who had 2 subscribers before he started working with me. He started helping him. His views went up 4.8 million%. We're super excited. If anybody ever want to grow on YouTube, you reach out to me with the word coach. All right. She's trying to put him in a box, but instead of her acknowledging that you're absolutely right, families do matter. Families are important. Having a strong man, a strong woman in the household so they can come together and raise their families up and start their tree and their branches that's coming from their tree and setting the foundation, that's extremely important. That's why I said what I said. But she don't want to hear that. She want to hear about the Jim Crow stuff.
There were a lot of people who heard what you had to say, and a lot of them are offended by the idea that you would repeat Jim Crow 3 times in your comments as if to suggest that that was a time period because that Black families were, in your words, together, because, in your words, Black people were not just more conservative, they voted more conservatively. That's a good thing. I mean, it sounds like nostalgia. Do you regret using that time frame as a reference?
Nobody ever made nostalgia. That was never the point. It wasn't even about that. So where now I'm going to get my backup is, I didn't say that. I didn't even insinuate that. That is where the media and yes, Hakeem Jeffries and a lot of other people are taking
What
it.
exactly didn't you
No,
insinuate?
back up.
I'm just
So
trying to
wanna-
understand what you're
tell
saying. What didn't you
premise of your-
insinuate?
The premise of your question, I did not insinuate. That is what people are trying to weave into what I said. What I said is crystal clear. It's on my social media. Go to @ByronDonalds on X. You can see the full clip. Abby, I appreciate you playing the full clip. What you are dealing with right now is a political environment where now anything I might say or any major surrogate might say is going to be twisted into the lens of race. That was never the point, not the idea
I just want to,
whatsoever.
just to clarify my questioning of you.
Sure.
I mean, I understand that this idea that you said it was better, you didn't use the words better. But when you talk about that time period, you're suggesting that because the Black family was together, they were better off than they are now.
See, this is the problem, Abby.
So are you saying that that's not the
Abby.
case? That the Black family was not better
No,
off
I did
when
not
they
say
were,
that.
in your
Abby.
words, together?
Abby, let me put it to you like this.
In the Jim Crow era.
Let's agree on something. I am, obviously one of the better communicators in the Republican Party. I know how to put words together. I do it very, very often. So I'm not going to say something that I do not agree with. What America is seeing right now, especially Black America, is the gaslighting that unfortunately does happen in politics, where you take my comments and you want to weave your own political viewpoint into what I said. What I said is very clear.
I asked you to explain
hold on now.
because I wanted
Go
to,
ahead.
what I want to undo is understand what you're saying here. Because if you're making a comparison, you're saying the Black family was together then, they're not together now, and you're using that to try to say that things are bad now. Well, first of all, let me just to set the table here.
They are, and I'll tell you why. Because what we support in this current administration is anti-family. Byron Donalds could just simply say that. This current administration does not support family. It supports whatever the hell you want to do. That's actually going against family. That's actually going against our values. It's actually going against what we stand for as a people. It's actually anti-country. what we're doing right now in this current administration. Byron Donalds need to break that down to her, but he's a great speaker. He's trying to explain to her in a way that's because this brother he's on the VP list, the VP short list. You know what I mean? Could potentially be somebody that's running next to Trump. But I will say this: if he does run next to Trump, hopefully it's only off of his merit and not because he's a black man, because that's the stuff that I don't like. Because we already saw when Biden was on Breakfast Club when he said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. So Charlamagne the God said, well, we're not going to vote for you unless you put a black woman on the ticket. And he said, whoa. I plan on doing that, baby. I got one right here. Huh? I know exactly who I'm gonna put on the ticket, and it's going to be a black woman. So I can get you. Can I get your vote now? Huh? Can I get your vote now? I do got a black woman. Can I get your vote? She just need to listen.
By pretty much every available measure, Black families, Black individuals in this country are better off today than they were during Jim Crow. Would you agree with that?
Abby, of course I would. I'm not making that point, and this is the problem. What the Democrats, what Hakeem Jeffries did on the House floor, what Jamie Harrison, what the president of the NAACP, what the Biden campaign, because they're the ones who started this. It was really the Biden campaigns who were trying to cherry pick everything. They're trying to twist my words into saying something. I never said that. What I was talking about was specifically Black families. And the point that Black families being together is a great thing for the Black community. And you do have to acknowledge the empirical fact that before Lyndon Johnson's policies and the welfare state that was created in the United States, I'm not talking about good, bad, or indifferent.
what about-
Black families were, Black marriage rates were significantly higher.
Well, what
They're
about other
rising
things that
again
might
in
have,
America.
but-
That's a good
but
thing.
What
We should
about other
celebrate
things
that.
that may have contributed to the, maybe the decline in marriage rates, which, by the way, is not unique to Black families. That's happening actually across racial groups. But what about other things? I mean, what about redlining? Do you think that had an effect on the Black family? What about mass incarceration? What about the war on drugs, which was pushed by a Republican president whose advisor said it was specifically to target Black people? What about all of those things?
Look, if you want to talk about
Well, she just now asked him, listen, let me tell you something. She just now asked him some good stuff. But I want y'all to notice this. Watch how he tries to answer it. He's going to try to answer all of that because these are all talking points. What about this? What about that? And what about this? What about accountability? How about that? She should have brought that part up, but I'm going to be quiet.
Target Black people. What about all of those things?
Look, if you want to talk about redlining and a lot of the other policies that were put forward, quite frankly, by the Democrat Party, if you're going to go back to Jim Crow, because Jim Crow was Democrat policies.
Well,
That's what that was.
I know that
Come on,
you
Abby,
know
don't
this.
cut me off when I'm trying to make a point.
Let me
Yeah, she just now asked him a bunch of stuff, but what she's pretty much letting him know is, yo, this is my show, and I can interrupt you whenever I want. All right? So you're going to shut up and you're going to answer my questions. And if you're not answering them right the way that I want you to answer them, I'm going to interrupt you and I'm going to flip it so that you not have an opportunity to make me look bad on my show. All right?
I have to correct a factual point here. I know that you know that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party of today are ideologically not what they were during Jim Crow. You know that, Congressman. So to suggest that, the Democrats of 1920 are the same ideologically as the Democrats of today is inaccurate. So just, you can continue, but I wanted to...
That's not totally true, Abby, and I think if we want to have that conversation about the policy positions between Republicans and Democrats, we can have that conversation, but
one of the other
Abby,
things,
do you want to have a conversation?
One of the other things...
She would not let this man talk. Like, come on, bro. Can he talk? Can he talk? Let this man talk. You're not talking to Cameron right now about Diddy. You're not talking to Cam about Diddy right now. You're talking to somebody who matches you and surpasses you intellectually. Don't play games. Not saying that Cam does not match or surpass her intellectually. I'm just saying this is not that. This is completely different. This is a different ball game. You invited him to the show. He's answering your questions. You need to allow him to answer the questions. Okay, I do realize this makes for good TV, but if y'all go to this video right here, If y'all go to this video, the CNN video that I'm actually reviewing, and you were to check it out, you will see that in the comment section, they are destroying her. Destroying.
I'm trying to understand how you want
since you
this
brought
interview
it
to
up,
go.
because since you brought it
Sure.
up on the conservative thing, the other thing that you said was Black people voted more conservatively. Were you talking about them voting for Republicans?
In part, yeah, because that's just an empirical fact. That's what we know that did happen. And the only corollary that I am making is that when families are together and now you're trying to find a way for you to build wealth within your family unit, you're thinking about public policy in a myriad of ways. Because at the end of the day, you want your children to be able to stand on your shoulders. I was very, very fortunate. My mother was able to build a platform for me to be able to stand on and to be able to achieve. Same for my sisters. I'm a very blessed individual because of that. My only point is that when you have a family unit, husband and wife living together, striving together,
Yes.
grinding together, raising children together, you start thinking about public policy in a myriad of ways. And my belief is that dynamic allows people to start thinking about public policy in a much more conservative way as opposed to a much more progressive way. That's my point.
That might be, I mean, I think you're a Republican, so you're entitled to that opinion. But I think what people are taking issue with is
This dude was just concise. He was concise. He was kind. He was not raising his voice. He was just talking about all of the benefits of a family unit, and she would not acknowledge any of it. It's like, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about what you said and how I can make this look good for me and my show. That's it. All that stuff you're saying, yeah, that sounds like Republican stuff. Like Republican people think about families. They care about families. And we don't think about that over here. Why wouldn't she acknowledge that? This dude is kicking science that could potentially help her out. All I want to know is she married? What does she believe when it comes to values and family values specifically? Like, this is the stuff we don't know about these individuals who are on these platforms questioning other people who actually stand for the things that they're there to talk about when she does not clearly.